This is not good for Activision and Microsoft. So apparently there could be some problems with the Microsoft deal. Maybe. Let's see what Bellular has to say about it. Let me pause the music here and let's jump right in.
Okay, here's the deal. I know we're here for gaming news, and this is that, but it does get a bit odd when it turns into mergers and acquisitions news. This time, though, it is pretty damn impactful. This is absolutely going to suck for Microsoft and, of course, for Activision Blizzard, and that's why we absolutely have got to get into today's story. Might be a tad dense. I'll try to make it nice and smooth for you, but it certainly is a bloody interesting story, I've got to say that. So we did talk about how the Competition and Mergers Authority of the United Kingdom was taking a little bit of interest in this case, but per Gaming World Observer,
and Sony was pushing hard for this, I believe both in the UK and I think like in Brazil or something. Sony was pushing hard against this because initially the wording on Phil Spencer was like, yeah, we're gonna let Call of Duty come into PlayStation. That's not going to be a problem. And then it comes out with Jim Ryan saying, yeah, they're gonna do that for the next 3 years. And then then we're getting screwed out of Call of Duty. They didn't appreciate that.
They are definitely taking a look. They're actually moving forward with the more in-depth investigation of this merger, of course, on the grounds that it could be anti-competitive. And this comes amid Phil Spencer making more of a public, it's okay, happy statement, whereas Jim Ryan, the head of PlayStation, well, he was pretty damn public about the terms not being good for Sony with Call of Duty. Call of Duty was one of the places where the CMA were, particularly concerned. So Microsoft at the time of this had made a bit of a public show of, addressing the concerns with their public statement, but per the sources of the Financial Times, in private, they were actually much less interested in responding. Here's the excerpt. According to people familiar with the matter, Microsoft decided not to cooperate with the CMA this time, because the regulator would probably accept no undertaking from the company. As one competition lawyer put it, it was almost impossible for Microsoft to move away from the in-depth investigation at this stage. So that does mean that the real shit's going to actually happen. Now, of course, Phil Spencer made his public statement about Call of Duty. Jim Ryan said that, who of course is of PlayStation, said that Microsoft had offered them very unfavorable terms. And
again, like I've said as much when this came out. I was like, bro, you think Microsoft is going to buy Activision Blizzard and Call of Duty is still going to be on PlayStation? Have we seen Ghost of Tsushima on Xbox? Was that crickets? Oh, have we seen Horizon Zero Dawn on Xbox? Crickets again? Oh, so Microsoft is out of the kindness of their hearts going to buy Activision Blizzard and still do Call of Duty on PlayStation. Of course they are. Out of the goodness of Phil Spencer's heart.
Because of that, we're now thinking that it's likely that regulators are going to take a pretty damn dim view of the info that's being provided to them. And of course, the CMA themselves have actually confirmed this in their announcement, right? Where they said Microsoft informed the CMA that it would not offer undertakings to the CMA, and that because of that, they have made the decision to refer this to the newly established panel of merger experts from the CMA, which means the shit's happening. And we know very much on what grounds it's happening. There are 3 points here. The distribution of games through multi-game subscription services. Now, I think that one is a bit funky because Sony also do have an extremely competitive offering in that space, so that's probably good for Microsoft. If Sony didn't have that and Microsoft was just muscling in with, kind of gobbling up everything, then perhaps they, wouldn't get away so easily. Also, the supply of cloud gaming services. That's an interesting one. I mean, Microsoft can provide that through Azure. Sony, of course, have been doing a lot of that with, PS Now. Streaming is actually integrated into the new PS Plus. So Not sure about that. And then also the manufacture and supply of gaming consoles together with their digital storefronts. So this is kind of an interesting one where that's being clearly articulated as opposed to being a side effect of the previous investigation based on the idea that losing Call of Duty would in fact, impact the purchase of future PlayStations. And let's make no mistake, just like Sony will now not sell PS5s because people will want to play Skyrim on their Xbox, if they lose Call of Duty, then yeah, a hell of a lot less people will be buying a PlayStation. That is absolutely for damn sure. So, what does this actually mean for the acquisition then? How much of a thorn could this be in the side of Satya Nadella, of Phil Spencer, and of Bobby Kotick? Well, in March 2022, CMA referred a Phase 2 investigation into the acquisition of Avast, the antivirus, by Norton LifeLock. Now, this is just as an example. So this Phase 2 investigation lasted from March until August. It was found that the acquisition would substantially reduce competition in the UK. After that, there was a 3-week public consultation that ended August 24th, where the provisional findings were reviewed and any further objections could be raised. Then that ended the 2nd of September when they announced that they had cleared the merger. So, basically, 6-month delay, right? That was a $6 billion.
And that was like this is like a best scenario, I would assume. So best scenario, 6-month delay on the purchase.
Value thing, whereas this transaction will be a $68.7-ish billion.
Also, wait a minute. Shadowmancer's bad terms for PlayStation. How about them 1-year exclusives on Crimea River? That's a little bit unfair. How about the exclusives on Xbox? Xbox also gets exclusive stuff that PlayStation doesn't get. It's the console wars, baby. It's just the thing is, you're sitting on the PC side and you only care about the Sony ones because you get the Microsoft ones. What's exclusive on Xbox? Forza, Gears, Halo. Like, where's the Halo on PlayStation? Yeah, exactly. What do you mean Monster Hunter? Monster Hunter wasn't a 1-year exclusivity. Monster Hunter was on Xbox at the same time as on PlayStation. It just wasn't on PC. See, look at your misdirected rage. You're misdirecting your rage towards Sony when in fact, the game was available on both platforms. It's just you're on PC, so you're always going to be on Microsoft's side. I don't see you crying about Halo or Gears or Forza because you're getting those games. But what I'm saying here is like Sony aren't the only ones being bad. Like Tummy Giggles is saying, they're just as bad as each other. Exactly. Both Sony and Microsoft are bad when it comes to these exclusivity things. Where's my Monster Hunter World on Linux? Exactly. I'm not shilling for Sony. I agree with what you're saying, Tummy Giggles. They're both bad. I'm just saying, like, you can't just throw Sony under the bus as in, oh, Sony's 1-year exclusivities. Yeah, Xbox doesn't do the same. Thing is, Xbox doesn't have nearly as many good IP to have as exclusives. And the few IP they have, they're running into the fucking ground. Case in point, Halo Infinite.
Transaction, which is really rather large. Now, one of the good things is that
you need to understand that when it comes to these things, and I'm sorry I paused again, you need to understand when it comes to these things, I'm on your side. As in, I'm on the side of the consumers. I'm not on the side of Sony. I'm not on the side of Xbox. I'm on the side of the consumers. I want everyone to get every game in every platform. That's the way I look at things. That's the way that I roll. I don't give a fuck if it's in this platform, that platform. If I had it my way, you'd be forced to have it on every platform. Boom. That's the way that I would do it. And that way, you would have, at least I would expect less of these console wars of people going like, oh, but we have Horizon. Oh, but we have Halo. Oh, but we have this. Oh, but we have that. It's like, who cares? Jesus fucking Christ. I don't want to know what box you're jacking off to. I don't care if you're jacking off to a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X or a big beefy PC or a Nintendo Switch. I don't care which box you're jacking off to in the bathroom, okay? I don't care. It means fucking nothing to me.
the CMA are a public body, there's actually a lot of freely available data that we can look into. And this can basically just tell us, when a phase 2 investigation is required, what's the sort of thing that ends up happening. So we can see here the total referred, the number cleared, prohibited, with, remedies behaviorally in terms of divestors, or cancelled or abandoned. You can see a fair few cancelled or abandoned, and you can also see, a fair few being prohibited, actually. To the stage where, well, it's more likely than not that some form of action will actually happen. And to explain what those forms of action are, clearance just means no threat to competition, fire away, do your merger. Prohibited means it cannot proceed because it would be a threat to competition in the UK. That's that. That would be pretty shit news. Behavioral remedies, which is basically just set up a legally binding agreement that will ensure the good state of competition.
The thing that is weird to me is because I don't know exactly how these laws work, but what is stopping them from merging, say, in the US, even if they can't merge in the UK? Isn't that kind of weird? How does UK law somehow end up affecting the US? Right? Can't they just merge in the US and be like, yeah, fuck you. We're not merging in the UK, but we're merging in the US. Again, I don't know. I'm not well educated when it comes to these concepts. But it's like, how can the UK just straight up affect what is going on in the US? Because then they couldn't operate here? Well, can't they just merge in the US and still remain separate for the UK? Kind of feel like that should be a possibility. Technically, they could total merger in the US, create a new daughter company in the UK, let the UK company rot. Yeah, there you go. Guess what? Now you just buy from Microsoft. That's it. There's no more Activision Blizzard in the UK. Boom, done. Sorted. You think it's a PR stunt by Activision after all the harassment lawsuits to merge with a company with micro and soft in it? That's a good one.
Competition going forward. Divestor is basically saying, right, you can merge, but you've got to sell off or spin out, some of your assets, basically. And then cancelled or abandoned is just when the parties say, you know what, screw this, we're not doing it anymore. So overall, what you can see is the CMA are not afraid of using their powers. They have actually done so regularly in recent years. So at the very least, expect some form of delay here for Activision Blizzard and for Microsoft, but also potentially something could actually happen. And in terms of what will happen, I think it will be a behavioral solution, because if it was divestiture and they just said, hey, Activision, spin Call of Duty out to the Call of Duty company, Activision would turn around and be like, okay, shit, we've got nothing left. So I think it almost certainly won't be that. But a behavioral thing, now that actually could work. I am fairly sure it came out that basically Phil had said, look, you're definitely getting 3 years of Call of Duty, and,
yes,
beyond that, we'll see. That evidently was not good enough for Jim to be happy, right? Jim and the crew over at PlayStation. So imagine some sort of behavioral thing. I would say at least that probably Microsoft's best way to get out of this, and again, this is a layperson's perspective, but we do know that Sony are trying to spin up some sort of free-to-play games. Some of these are in the shooter space from Deviation. We have an upcoming story, though, because it seems like Deviation is going through troubles. If Microsoft could convince that, look, by the time the PS6 rolls around, Sony will have a first-party competitor to Call of Duty, and then, Call of Duty can be our one, perhaps then they could sort of get the clearance. But anything that means yanking Call of Duty,
I don't think that would work, simply because Call of Duty has brutal naming recognition. As a matter of fact, it's probably the only thing they have, because I don't even think Call of Duty is that great of a game personally, but then again, I don't really do shooters, so whatever.
Whenever Sony don't have their own thing, I just don't think that's really going to be accepted. And as we then zoom out, well, we do have Sony's comment from this, which I think, they're happy. This is fantastic news for Sony. But also we've got the fact that the Federal Trade Commission in America has yet to do their thing in this, and the EU is looming. Apparently Activision and Xbox have been preparing for the EU investigation for a while. Obviously, Microsoft have got in trouble with the EU for anti-competitive things before, so that'll be fun. They've had so pre-notification talks have been ongoing with Brussels Regulator since January of this year, and the expectation is that the EU will be applying a similar level of scrutiny to what the UK is doing. So that basically means they need to get ready for the long haul. This is not going to be approved and signed off on quickly. Absolutely not. And as for Sony's comment here, well, this is what they said. By giving Microsoft control of Activision games like Call of Duty, you can see they're drilling in Call of Duty. I think they know that is their strongest point, right? Like two massive games, Call of Duty and FIFA. And I imagine that if Microsoft went and tried to buy Electronic...
I just want you to think about this. How bad is gaming nowadays that these are some of the two of the most recognizable properties? FIFA and Call of Duty. God damn it, we're fucking basic as shit in Europe. Jesus fuck. I remember the day that PS4 came out. The dude that was in front of me, because I went to buy it at the store at midnight. Dude that was in front of me literally bought PlayStation, additional controller, which, by the way, the prices at the time were inflated as fuck. I think he bought like a DualShock 4 for €75 or something like that. So he bought the PlayStation, an additional controller, FIFA, and Call of Duty. I was like, Jesus Christ, all you need to go with that is a fucking six-pack. If only they sold six-packs at the console store, it'd be perfect. You'd get your extra controller, your Call of Duty, your FIFA, and your fucking six-pack. Boom, done. I was like, what the fuck, bro? This is weird.
Electronic Arts.
Meanwhile, I'm sitting over there with my PlayStation 4 and thinking like, oh man, I'm playing the fuck out of, what was that game that Housemark did? Resogun. I'm playing the fuck out of Resogun. Because that was most of what we had back then. Oh no, not true. Sony gave me like this pack that had Black Flag, Knack, some Lego game, Killzone. Yeah, Killzone was fun. I liked Killzone. A lot of people didn't like that Killzone. I thought it was fun. Then again, it was my first Killzone, so. But yeah, it had like those 4 games. It had like something else. I forget what it was. Bro, Knack was cool, man. Don't fuck around with Knack. Knack was all right.
Maybe there'd be a similar discussion here surrounding FIFA. Of course, not going to be called FIFA for too much longer, but you get my point. So this deal will have major...
Oh yeah, the other game was Call of Duty Ghosts. It was Call of Duty.
Implications for gamers and the future of the gaming industry. We want to guarantee PlayStation gamers continue to have the highest quality gaming experience, and we appreciate the CMA's focus on protecting gamers. Well, of course Sony does. I don't think they've looked into their situation with Bungie that much, but certainly while Destiny 2 is a big game, it's no Call of Duty. Call of Duty truly is absolutely ginormous on the consoles. But perhaps less and less so if they keep on pulling out a Vanguard, but the next installment is going to be Modern Warfare 2 the second, which, I imagine will actually do quite well. Okay then, so this is all very interesting. I mean, we talked about a while ago how Berkshire Hathaway, which, if you know the fairly legendary investor Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, that's their company, they were performing, at least the belief was, a bit of merger arbitrage, right? Where the price that Activision Blizzard stock was going for, on the market, where that was actually lower than what the agreed price for the merger deal would be. And of course, that would mean a very handsome payday if the merger actually does go through, right? So, there was a lot of bullish sentiment, I think, in the past. A lot of people saying, hey, you know what? This is going to be fine. We'll sail through, it's not really that bad. But now we actually are coming up against some resistance. And if I was to just take a quick look at the markets here now, I don't exactly claim to be able to just, be a magical person and read all of the wisdoms into this chart, but you can certainly see, that the line has went down.
Buy the
right?
dip.
You know, it definitely did go down a bit. You know, not humongously. I mean, if you look at this, it's between $76 and $81. If you kind of look at that year to date, I mean, it is a fairly, you know, it is fairly level. I mean, I believe, like, I think we might know why this went from 64 all the way up to 82.
That's when the
just
deal was announced.
Though even I remember when, you know, with Twitter stock, we of course had, you know, a lot of people thinking they were going to do some merger arbitrage whenever Elon Musk announced that he was going to purchase the company for whatever the share price was. And of course, a lot of that then fell off whenever Musk announced that he was, you know, that he was intending to pull out of the deal.
Just kidding.
Who knows what it's going to be like for the people who are playing around in the market? Certainly.
Bro, people hate Musk so much. The man is the ultimate troll. He just keeps fucking trolling everyone. He's like, hey, I'm just gonna make a couple of holes below LA. You guys don't mind, do you? Nah, it's fine. Drill away, man. Drill away. I'm going to make a company called The Boring Company and sell flamethrowers. Except they're not flamethrowers, but they're kind of flamethrowers, but not. Dude, he's the ultimate troll, dude. He did pump and dumps for Dogecoin. And it's like, the interesting thing is everybody who is mad about that is mad because they don't have that level of influence, because if they did, they would do exactly the same fucking thing. All of the people that are mad about Elon Musk pumping and dumping Dogecoin, they're mad because they can't achieve that level of influence.
If somebody went, you know, very bullish on Twitter being sold soon and Activision Blizzard being sold soon, then maybe things aren't exactly panning out how they would have expected. But that's basically the situation, okay? I don't really know what this is going to mean. I do have a suspicion that it will be a behavioral agreement, though. It was actually quite good. I learned a lot going through the doc that, you know, that Connor and our team prepared for both of us today. And I guess that can maybe give us an understanding of what could happen. I think one of those behavioral things where they just end up, you know, it's not a gentleman's handshake, it is legally bound that Call of Duty will be protected and will be safe. I think that's the most likely thing, because ultimately for Microsoft, I mean, sure, it would be nice they could do something with Call of Duty. I don't think they ever had a realistic expectation of doing something really aggressive with Call of Duty anytime soon. My personal suspicion is that at most, they want to do for, you know, the next generation of consoles, they want Call of Duty to be theirs. And I think they hope that they can just get away with it. So if they sign an agreement that says for 6 years there's Call of Duty in PlayStation, I think for Sony, that does kind of suck because they know there is a ticking time bomb. But for Microsoft, that's still good because they know that that is a major play that they can make whenever the next console generation starts. And as for Sony, they will just have to hope that they've got something ready in time. And even that could be in jeopardy, as apparently at Deviation Games, there have been a lot of staff departures amid, well, some rumors and murmurings. We'll get into that later next week, though. So that's it for today's video. Let me know, I suppose, what you think. It's kind of hard to tell how this could really impact any of us. Though at least for some of us, the idea that maybe Blizzard could operate with a more long-term outlook instead of quarterly get the money in. Some of us think that could be good for the Blizzard games. But there's obviously bigger things at play. Anyway, have a good one, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, when it comes to this particular situation, as someone who has somewhat of a vested interest in Blizzard games because I'm a nostalgia idiot and I just like, you know, I miss playing good Blizzard games, I think that it would be good for Blizzard games if they were purchased and Microsoft cleaned house a little bit around there. I think this would be a very good thing, especially if Microsoft sends over Master Chief to clap the cheeks of Bobby Kotick. That'd be amazing. Of course, that's probably not going to happen because this is all like, oh yeah, we're taking a big moral grandstand. Bobby Kotick's is like this big evil dude, but Bobby Kotick also makes a lot of fucking money, and that's all we really care about in the end. So it's like, I would kind of like the Microsoft deal to go through, and I don't give a crap about Call of Duty, so whatever. So that doesn't affect me at all. But, you know, obviously there's other concerns to be had, and I'm not the right person to advocate or not advocate for those. I just feel like, again, in my own personal interest of potentially Blizzard games becoming better if they were under the umbrella of Microsoft, which could happen or could not, because we've also seen that Microsoft has been mishandling one of their major franchises in the form of Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite is not doing so well. If you guys keep up with it, and if you guys go watch the recent Ackman video, like, it's pretty fucked up. The development in Halo Infinite is pretty fucked up, and they are driving that game into the fucking ground. So maybe it wouldn't be as good to be under Microsoft. I don't even know anymore. It's the thing is, it can't be much worse than what we have right now with Blizzard. It can't be much worse. That's where I'm getting at. Anyway, make sure to send some love out to Bellular. You guys know I love his content. His stuff is good. Always remember, do not just go in there, like the video, and leave. If you go in there, watch the video for a bit, leave it running in the background, mute the window or something, or go there later, watch the video. Don't just go in there, like, and leave, because that's bad. And subscribe and do all of that stuff if you like Bellular's content as well.